Where was Eddie? Eddie was gone.
I can't control myself.
I can't control you either.
I don't have a computer today, which is very sad. We got to do a fundraiser soon, guys. I got to get a new laptop or a new computer. So any Patreon support or super chats would be greatly appreciated today, because my computer was stolen during the trip to New York. So I'm checking in from my iPad, which is fine. But why are we circles, Noah?
I don't know. And this is like, was Carlos on here last? Was he sabotaging us? Probably.
I think he was. He didn't.
It was probably the guy that stole your
well.
laptop, I think.
It definitely was. I've noticed that his streams are more high quality recently because he stole my laptop. Can we change this circles thing here?
I'm gonna try. Why don't you introduce our new show while I figure out how to do that?
All right. So the new show that you guys are watching will not always be circular. That is not part of the show. Part of the show, or it will be hopefully an easier show to produce once I have a new computer, which will hopefully be as early as next weekend. But yeah, basically for a while, our channel has been pretty random. It's been pretty much just us streaming whenever we have time. We're back to circles.
I don't know. It's like half of them are circles and half of them aren't. We can go real late here.
What are all these? Just go to the regular ones.
The regular ones are circles.
You got to change that in your settings, probably.
Sure.
We'll try to do that when the intro video is playing. But anyways, we're trying to. This is not a good example right here, but we're trying to cut back on the randomness of our channel a little bit and give you guys a more hard and fast schedule, so you know when we're streaming, so you know who's streaming, all of these good things. So this show will feature the Midwestern Marx directors, which are me, Noah, and Carlos. Hopefully all three of us whenever possible. Obviously, weekends are kind of all over the place, and sometimes we'll be busy. Like Carlos is doing something with Haas in Texas today, so he was unable to join us. But as often as we can, we'll get all three of us on here. We can kind of recap the news stories that happened that week. And yeah, you guys can know on weekends, you're going to be getting the three sort of faces of Midwestern Marx, and then Noah will continue his solo show. Carlos is going to do a once a month or bi-weekly show. And then I'll bring back the Eddie Liger Power Hour as well. So lots of content coming your way. It should be a blast.
Maybe I'm sort of a nerd, but the Power Hour is my favorite live stream.
Let's go. I think it's the best name that we have. Although ChatGPT gave me some really good ideas.
Telling you, I told you, Midwestern Manifesto is perfect.
That was Noah's.
Everyone who voted, by the way, on that. We really appreciate your help. You guys chose the show name, so here it is.
Yeah, Noah actually rigged it. He paid for bots to boost Midwestern Manifesto because that was his favorite. So here we are.
That's true. You'd think I would pay for bots for something more important.
Yeah,
nope. No, just this. I just like getting my way and Eddie not getting his.
Exactly. That's more important than, like communism and stuff. So anyways, today we're going to be talking about some big news stories, and Noah will be producing this whole thing. So wish him luck with that because I'm unable to do it from my iPad. But we're going to be talking about the recent plane crashes. There was one in DC, and then there was the other one in Pennsylvania, I believe. We'll try to discuss that without getting banned from YouTube. For questioning government narratives about things, and we'll also
be a little difficult, but we'll try.
Yes, and there was also a piece published in, I believe, the New Yorker, talking. It was by a high-level Democrat who was basically saying what we're doing against Trump right now is lawfare, and we should be focusing our resources and energy. When I say our, I mean the Democratic Party. So this is him speaking for the Democratic Party. Obviously, we're not a part of that party. But he's saying from within the liberal establishment, we need to stop focusing all our efforts on trying to get Trump in jail. Nobody gave a shit that he was a convicted felon, and we should focus on campaigning and normal political stuff. So pretty interesting just to see that high-level Democrats are moving that direction. But yeah, that's what we'll get into after the intro.
It's weird to see Democrats who just kind of are making sense. They don't do that anymore.
No.
We'll get to it. in our own goddamn time.
High Sheriff Hazard is a hard man to be. High Sheriff is his only plan. He digs through pockets, takes what he can, for he's High Sheriff Hazard. He caught me one evening, and here's what he said: "You look like a Russian, you look like a red. And if you're fond of your skin and your head, beware the High Sheriff of Hazard." The answer is simple, the answer is clear. We all get together, ain't got nothing to fear. We throw the old bastard right out on his ear. Farewell to High Sheriff Hazard.
We're back. What's up, everybody? If you haven't noticed, weekends are our casual time. We sort of don't, dress up and get all fancy.
I need at least one time of the week on stream where I can wear Che Guevara. I'm not gonna lie, I've never dressed up for the Eddie Liger Power Hour either, but maybe that's just a me thing. I got 5 weddings this year, folks. So I'm going to be getting some new suits from Temu, of course. So prepare for me to be dripped out in very low quality, low price Chinese goods.
I mean, they're not that bad, but
they're really not.
Yeah, like it's doable. It's as good as anything you'd find at like some department store at the mall, right? Which aren't terrible either, like a Nautica suit or something. Though this is not Fashion Week. This is Midwestern Manifesto, and I want to make a clarification for what Eddie said in the intro. It's the New York Post that Democrat guy was writing, and not the New Yorker, which is interesting to me because that's sort of like a conservative newspaper, right? And I noticed that they let him write for them when he's kind of bagging on the Democrats.
Makes
Right?
sense. It's funny how that like the media is so controlled and so ideological. Like when a Democrat wants to say something against his own party, even when it's in the spirit of like, guys, this is what we need to do to win. Even when it's something like that, they're like, no, you can't publish it here. Like even in Red America, like you can publish criticisms of our party in our party journal, because like if they're legitimate, well thought out, systematized criticisms, we in the leadership want to hear them. And that's part of the reason why the Democratic Party is in this spot. Like, I was talking to some people who are still in the Democratic Party but are very, very critical of it this weekend, and they're like, why will our party not change? And I'm like, it's because of the corporate money, bro. And they're in too deep. Like if they say anything that's common sense at this point, their corporate donors go away and they're completely reliant on that. So, and it's very similar for the Republicans too. They've just had to adjust to the monkey wrench that's been thrown in their whole system by the MAGA and Trump phenomenon.
What it really is modern bourgeois ideology, which boils down to the purity fetish, right? You're either 100% absolute on board and it can do no wrong, or it's flawed and impure and must be combated on every level. And it's really sad that this sort of trickles down into the middle classes and even the reproletariat from there, because look, we see this sort of thing all the time, right? Like, excuse me, the sort of Twitter left, right? Hammer and sickle emoji town, or whatever you want to call it, fake left, right? They sort of get very upset if you don't take every single thing they say at face value. If you're like, okay, this is your criticism, well, let's see if it holds up to scrutiny. Let's see if it's real. If we're talking about criticism, we always have to understand not all criticism is equal. What they sort of do is like sort of pivot away from their particular criticism to speak of criticism in general. So if you have an issue with this particular criticism and it's not correct, oh, you don't allow criticism. Like, your criticism isn't all criticism. Are you insane? What rational human being thinks like that? The Democrats aren't rational, so.
It's like the people who left our party too, who were also afflicted with the purity fetish. They levied their criticisms at, Haas and leadership. We listened to their criticisms and then, accepted some of them, but obviously Haas had the right to respond, and rather than engaging in that dialectical process of dialogue where you come to a middle ground, these people just kind of flipped out and said, okay, well, we're done with the party and we're going to do everything we can to destroy it, which makes me question how dedicated they were from the beginning. And with a lot of these people, with a lot of these people, we always, doubted their dedication and were suspicious of something like this, because you can spot liberalism a mile away after you've been doing this stuff for a while, honestly. And, there are people in the party with much more experience than me, such as my comrade Noah here and our comrade Chris Morlock as well, who really seems to have an eye for these wreckers and rooting them out. But anyways, that was always my point about the purity fetish, because one of the critiques that it was levied at it right away, which I anticipated when I read the book, I thought this will be the main philosophical critique, is that the purity fetish removes any room for criticism, right? Because Carlos says you have a purity fetish if you don't support China as a socialist, which of course I agree with. And people responded to that with, oh, what? We're not allowed to criticize China or Midwestern Marx, otherwise we're purity fetishists? No. What the purity fetish does is it allows for criticism, right? It allows for me and Noah to say, hey, we agree on the same goal of advancing the struggle of the working class and ending imperialism, but we might have a disagreement on this one issue, and we can discuss that issue without hating each other, without trying to wreck each other's organizations, without, dismissing each other outright. So if you understand that, that things are impure, that nothing is perfect, then you can criticize it to try and make it better, with the understanding that, no, I still support this thing. So it opens the door for more criticism, which is what liberals seem to have no understanding of, at least today. I don't know, it was maybe different back in the day. I think it was, but it's a litmus test, right? For anyone that's serious or unserious. If the point of criticism is not to talk out the problem, see if it's exactly what you're perceiving, and then solve the problem if it exists. If the point is instead to cancel and create sides that just fight each other and split apart, then that's, the actions of a wrecker rather than a communist. If the point of criticism is in order to improve on a problem so that we can all move forward in the direction that we all know we want to go, then it's the criticism of a communist. I mean, it seems almost like they forget the point of criticism in their sort of egotism and subjectivism and
and sort of this like hyper individualism where they can't ever be wrong, and whenever someone disagrees, they have to, immediately have nothing to do with them and go start their own thing or whatever it is, right? But I really think that, I don't know, the more experience I have with it, the more I am suspicious that it's not forgetting. There was always some ill intent to begin with.
Right. Yeah. It seems that way with at least a lot of the people in this particular situation. You want to pull up that article real quick?
I do. You want to do the one about the lawfare?
Yes. Yeah. Let's start with that one since that's what we're talking about right now. I just think this is interesting. It's always interesting when Democrats or Republicans sort of realize one of the criticisms that we've had of them forever is true. There's still this like, and this is what I don't want to fall into for this segment, Noah, is, and I think you'll agree, is what these DSA types do of being like, why won't the Democrats listen to me? Why won't the Democrats be socialist? And it's like, is they're not a socialist party. They're a neoliberal party. They're not a vehicle for socialists to work through. That's what the lesson from the Bernie Sanders campaign should have been, that like, you can never establish socialism through the Democratic Party. This revolution that we tried to wage within the Democratic Party ended up crashing and burning, and the neoliberals consolidated control of the party.
How are we circles again?
I don't know. It doesn't matter at this point, but this is just gonna
be these ads are killing me.
I know. You need an ad blocker.
I do. I don't have one on this, and this is what I have to use StreamYard on. Anyway, you guys see the headline here? Maybe you don't see the headline.
Come on, Sam's Club. There we go.
All right, huge change. Barely noticed. Dems must kill lawfare mindset and other commentary, and it's by the Post editorial board. And what it's doing is talking about Christopher Caldwell, right? Talking about the problems with the Democratic Party.
Who's a liberal, right?
Right, exactly. And so is Alexander Nazarian.
Yes.
At Unheard. And this is who we were originally talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to read this part because it's really interesting what he says. Democrats don't need, quote, literal murder of the lawyers who dominate the party to return to power, but must drop the lawfare that has blinded Democrats to what politics is all about. A lawyerly frame of mind led Democrats to pursue Donald Trump using, quote, various avenues of lawfare. After Trump pardoned all of the J6 rioters, progressive Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner vowed to bring his own charges, forgetting that he was elected to fight the crime and drug overdoses continuing to plague the city. Forget politics by lawfare. Voters want a Democrat who knows how to throw a punch on behalf of working people.
Damn.
And I think it's interesting that, like, maybe 10 years later, 12 years later, the Democrats are catching up to the fact that working class people don't care about all this nonsense. We want to know how you are going to improve our lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, that's funny that there's a picture of Mao right there on that ad. It's interesting that, these people love to say that like Marxism is dead and Marxism has no relevance, but they're all realizing on the Republican and Democrat side that they have to appeal to the working class, and that the Democrats are failing to appeal to the working class. Not only is he criticizing here lawfare, which would be like, the Democrats going after Trump to get him convicted of a felony rather than putting their efforts into, running a better campaign and offering the working class something. He's criticizing that, but he's also criticizing the petty bourgeois lawyeristic mindset of the Democratic Party, which is something we've been talking about forever. It's a party of the professional managerial class of, insurance salesmen and managers and administrators and lawyers. And he's saying that this mindset is holding the party back because they have all this bourgeois formalism for the sake of formalism, which, we don't want to fall into with our party, the ACP. We always want to, speak to the, the way that the proletariat speaks, which is what Trump is good at, honestly. And he's criticizing the fact that they look at everything through the lens of a lawyer of PMC, which is very interesting to hear from someone who supports this party, who's a part of the Democrats.
It is. It seems like I said, it seems as if he's trying to take a lesson from Trump, right?
Of course, yeah.
And that the whole politics as normal of the last century is gone for good. As of 2016, that's over. And I think maybe he's the first Democrat to actually figure out why working class people liked Trump. Because he presents himself as a man of the people. Now, obviously he's not, right? But that's how he presents himself, and that's how people perceive him. He doesn't have that sort of like K Street, Pennsylvania Avenue, plastic veneer that's on all of the other politicians. I mean, even Bernie Sanders to a lesser extent, right? That's Biden, that's Kamala Harris, that's AOC, that's all of them have that. Yeah, that's my new thing. I'm calling Kamala or Kamala. Kamala's good.
That caught me off guard.
But it, like, all of them talk like that. It reeks of condescension. And in an era where everybody's standards of living are deteriorating, that just grinds people's gears. You're never gonna win any support whatsoever if that's all you got.
You know who understands that better than anybody? And it's because it's one thing to say this and understand the appeal of Trump, but it's another thing to actually like capitalize on it. Is Jackson Hinkle. He really knows what what regular people want to hear and what they don't want to hear. Better than, I'm not gonna lie, in 2019, 2020, our content was more tailored towards like liberals because we were coming out of the Bernie campaign, and a lot of the socialist energy was like connected to the Democratic Party still. Oh, nice. Now we're squares again.
Yeah, I finally figured it out.
Good. I'm proud of you, producer Noah. A lot of, so like our rhetoric was more aimed at convincing liberals to be socialists. But it's a different thing when you're trying to convince working class Republicans or MAGA people to be socialist. And that's the direction that Jackson went with his rhetoric much earlier than us. And it was extremely, extremely successful. He's very good at it. You can say that, you disagree with things that he's posted. You can say that they're edgy and you don't like that. You can dislike people who he's associated with. I'm sure Noah and I have disagreed with things that he's posted or don't like people he's supportive. But man, the guy is good at telling working class Americans what they want to hear. But the thing is, he's not phony like Trump. Right? Think what you want of Jackson. What he supports is the American Communist Party program, which is 18 common sense policies or programs that we want to pursue that would, not policies specifically, but, a general direction that we want to go that would vastly, vastly improve life for every single member of the working class in this country. That would take so much anxiety and financial burden and debt off the shoulders of working class Americans. And that's what Jackson supports. And again, you can hate his style, you can hate his rhetoric, but Trump is doing that rhetoric and faking it, and using it to elevate his own political career. And Jackson's political career has been elevated too, but he's also had tons of doors shut on him because what he stands for is real. What he stands for would actually change the lives of every working class person in this country, unlike Trump's program. So there's my little defense of Jackson, obligatory.
Look, at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding,
Thanks, BLX. Thank you. Sorry, Noah. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs.
Thank you, BLX.
Brother. And Michelle. Sorry, guys. I missed 2 of them. I haven't been checking.
Our bad, guys.
So much. Appreciate you.
Look, Jackson is the reason he's so popular is because what he says and how he says it resonates with people. So if you call yourself a communist and you dislike Jackson, it's on you to be able to do it better than him. maybe the reason you hate Jackson and his ability to connect with all these people is because you cannot connect with them. Therefore, don't you, or not therefore, but don't you think that ability to connect means you kind of hate all these working class people? You know what I mean? Like, that's what resonates for people. It just is. And if you can't get off your high horse for a minute in pursuit of class struggle in order to engage with people on their level rather than demanding they get to your level, maybe their level's not even what the problem is. Maybe your level's what the problem is. And maybe, just maybe, you should probably take a look around you and realize it's just ego. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, and before we move on to the next segment, I want to focus in on the lawfare part of this article, because there's the same section of socialists who think Jackson is like Satan are the socialists who don't believe that the Democrats are using lawfare against Trump. They don't believe that the Democrats have any kind of, they believe that our system of checks and balances is still working, that the Democrats don't have any influence over the legislative system, and that they're, pushing for this very timely federal indictment of Trump, or that they were during the election in good faith, just because Trump is a bad guy, as if there aren't, hundreds of Wall Street criminals who could be charged with the same exact thing right now who the Democrats overlook because that's who their donors are. And there are people who don't put that together, and they're like, no, it's a good thing because Trump bad. It's a good thing that they're using the legal system against him because, he's a bad guy. And it's like, well, for one, that's a legal precedent of they're going to use the legal system against us. I mean, even if they didn't do lawfare against Trump, I still think they would do lawfare against us as we start to inevitably grow and
they already do
gain more political power. Yeah, I mean, we know that because they already have. We don't have to get into details unless Noah wants to, but they already have. Yeah, I mean, people are in denial about this, but I think this is like one of those moments where it's like, okay, now even high level people in your party are coming out and admitting this and saying, not only admitting we are doing lawfare, but that it's a distraction. He's making the strategic argument, and that's so much like you got so many people are just in denial about the Democrats still, and it blows my mind. Like, even if I was a Democrat, I would be making the argument that this guy is. What the hell are we doing? Why are we trying to lock our opponent in jail instead of reaching the working class better than he is, reaching the masses of America better than he is? But they're in such a place, like we said, where they can't offer anything populist without upsetting their donors. So they become experts at deflection and playing the role of the lesser of two evils, or pretending to be that. And now even using the legal system to attack their opponents. Wild stuff.
I don't know, Eddie. It sounds like something a LaRoucheite Nazball Red Brown MAGA Pat Sock would say.
Well, that's what I had that written down to for my appearance on InfoWars later. I decided to say it on here too.
That works. I mean, yeah. Look, it's the same sort of reason that all of these people like think that the way to get socialism, which I mean, we can put aside for the minute that they have no idea what socialism even is to appeal to liberals, right? Because they believe that they're ideologically closer. So the problem really is that, I mean, it's a class issue. They're from the middle class, right? So they're appealing to people based not on working class politics, because they don't really have those, right? They're appealing to people based on their actual goals, which is just agreeing with liberals when it gets right down to it. I mean, think about it. These people have all the patience in the world for a party that is literally engaged in genocide, right? The Democrats, and they attack the Communist Party, us, with every single like sleazy, underhanded trick you could think of, the most hate, the most vitriol. And it's what it is sort of telling on themselves. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. You got anything else to say on this this article? It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I do want to say that the lawfare against Trump, like from a completely analytical standpoint, completely backfired.
Yeah.
The
Which
guy
is crazy. They didn't expect that too. You know?
How did they not? I mean, it takes this guy seeing that for him to go, "Oh, guys, maybe we're doing the wrong thing." They live in 2004, right? They really do. It's insane to me. Well, they're out of touch rich people. I mean, what do you expect, right? But Trump literally went up by like 20 points in a Daily Mail poll the day of his trial. They don't get why he's popular. He's like, every time they go after him with stuff like this, it makes him look more anti-establishment. It makes people like him more.
They don't realize, it's crazy. They're in such a bubble that they don't realize the anti-establishment moment we're in, or the fact that, you know, none of our they're always like, how do we regain trust in our institutions? Well, maybe don't try to put the super popular political candidate in jail. You know, maybe they're like, oh,
right.
On the debate stage and with all of their TikTok propagandists who they were paying in the lead up to the election, their big talking point was that Trump's a convicted felon. It's like, well, so are a lot of potheads because of Joe Biden's 3 strike laws that were lobbied for by the prison industrial complex. You think we give a shit? Like, and everybody knows that at this point because of the internet and alternative media and education and things like this. And everyone realizes it except the Democrats, except this little bubble on Capitol Hill where they just still think that they're respected and everybody will vote for bourgeois formalism above, you know, this big, bad, mean Trump. And they had, you know, there was a Democrat arguing on TikTok. Kaz and I reacted to this on election night, who was saying that Biden was going to win, or Kamala was going to win Iowa. I'm like, he was quoting some liberal pollster who did this last second poll saying that Kamala was going to win. I'm like, you guys are out of your fucking minds if you think that that's even a possibility. And I said that repeatedly on Haz's show, and sure enough, when the Iowa results rolled around, it was pretty much a landslide for Trump. Like,
yeah,
they're
clearly
so
haven't
isolated.
been to Iowa.
Right. It's like, have you come here? Have you talked to anybody outside of a rally at Iowa City, like this liberal bubble that the rest of the state disagrees with? It's insane how out of touch they are. But that's where they're at. Like we said, the party of the professional managerial class, they're targeting, you know, a few urban areas in the Midwest, like Iowa City. And it's like, well, if you tailor towards them completely, you're going to isolate the rest of the state. But whatever. I don't care if the party crashes and burns. Good riddance.
I mean, it's like I said it when Trump got elected. Like, look, I really couldn't care less that Trump won. I am so happy that the Democrats lost. Right? It brings up an interesting question to me, though, Eddie. What are they going to do as the PMC shrinks?
I don't know.
Like, that's all they got. They have money. They have their institutions, but like people wise,
I mean, who are they even going to run in 2028? Who do the Democrats have that's popular with regular people? They're going to run like John Fetterman or something. They've
been sort of like trying to throw that one at the wall. Like,
that's crazy.
What about Fetterman?
That's the only person in the party who speaks worse than Biden.
And by the way, nobody is fooled by his effing basketball shorts. Like, you're not a working class dude because you wear shorts. You're just kind of a dick.
I got so much hate on TikTok when he was running against Dr. Oz. I'm like, listen, Democratic staffers put this guy in a Carhartt sweater to make him look like a working class dude. He's been in politics his whole life. He's a career politician who's never seen a war he didn't like. And I lost followers. I like hundreds of comments. You're using your energy to attack Fetterman. He's a good man. I've had so many people apologize since. Like, you were right. This guy is like the biggest piece of shit in the Democratic Party, which is saying a lot. I would say Kristen Sinema's up there with him, but
absolutely. And you know what's funny? Like, Cinema's like one of the okay ones for the fake left to hate for some reason, but I don't see any difference between her and Fetterman or any of the others. Fetterman like studied finance at the University of Connecticut. I just looked it up. Like that's a very, very common elite sort of career path into politics. And we're supposed to believe he's just like this cool guy. He's one of us. I don't know. There is an issue with us Americans that I think we need to address, which is we sort of vote our feelings. We vote like for the guy we want to have a beer with.
Yeah,
and
some people do for sure.
It's true. Yeah, like in speaking to like people in Russia, and China and these kind of countries, they don't view their leaders like that. They're like, our leaders aren't our friends. We don't need them to like be cool dudes you want to go to the bar with. We need them to run our country. You know, like, and it's just so common sense when you think about it. I don't know. We need to figure some way to get over that for real.
You know, one group of America that does vote in their economic interests, which is rare. Noah's right that that's a common phenomenon. They've kind of like celebritized the election, which is sort of the Democrat strategy, was to get a bunch of Hollywood celebrities, which again is like, working class people hate them. You're hurting yourselves.
Didn't they get Beyonce? They spent like all their campaign money on Beyonce, and nobody cared.
And Beyonce is married to Jay-Z, who's going down with Diddy. Like, yeah, good job there, guys.
Right.
But the one group that does seem to vote in its economic interest in the U.S. is farmers. They pay attention to subsidy policy. It's common to see farmers with MAGA posters on their fields, you know, like overlooking the highway. And it was common to see them with Bernie Sanders things. They pretty much, you know, there's social issues that weigh in on it. And most farmers are obviously socially conservative. But if you offer them like more subsidies or better farm policies, you can win that section over. But the Democrats can't do that. They're getting too much money from Bill Gates, who's trying to monopolize all the farmland in the country. So they're totally bought and paid for by these bastards. Hoping that the Democrats change things around and become a populist party is a lost cause. If you want a populist party, acp.us. What the fuck is a Beyonce? I don't know. Good question.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. This is Midwestern Marx. We don't give a shit.
David, thank you for the $3, brother. We love David.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, man, Sebastian, you ain't got it.
Sebastian is
We're supposed to be getting
you to work.
Thank you, Sebastian. Sebastian does more work than all of us put together. It's crazy how much work this guy does.
True. Typical communists we are, taking Sebastian's money and making him work in a labor camp.
Yep. Well, we want free stuff and your stuff, apparently, right?
Yeah. Sebastian also gave me free stuff in New York too.
Very cool.
So he's really getting to that communist ethic there. Thanks, Sebastian.
I think we should move on to our next topic, though.
Yeah, what do you want to do? The DeepSeek or the planes?
Let's go to the DeepSeek thing. Sam Altman is a very interesting and shady individual.
Oh yeah, bro.
So I kind of want to get into this. Have you guys heard about? Well, I'm sure you've heard DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek is open source and is just annihilating American AI. It's better, it's free, and again, it's open source, meaning anyone can look at the code, take it, and improve upon it and create their own AI.
I have to say it's slightly better. It's in quality, it's slightly better, but the huge point here is that it's free and that it's open source, because right now Americans are paying as high as $200 a month for ChatGPT and for AI technology, and China just goes, here, take it for free. And there's nothing that the U.S. can do about it. And this caused like a 13 to 18% decrease in the stock market around AI. And I mean, this guy, Sam Altman, there's a speech. I don't know if it's if the video of it is in this article, but he basically says, you know, the China wants you to think that it's impossible to create AI that will outperform them. And it's our job to not accept that. although I do think it is pretty impossible. It's great. So these Silicon Valley oligarchs are melting down, and what are they pivoting to? Of course, anti-China propaganda. The CPC is doing this to destroy us. They hate America. That's why they're giving the American workers access to groundbreaking technology. They're stealing our data. My data. Anybody who followed the TikTok thing will be used to these propaganda points, I'm sure.
And it's so funny that like people like, and I've been seeing people all over the internet going like, I trust China with my data more than I trust Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Peter Thiel. All these people are like seriously like the most evil people that you could possibly imagine. What they're doing. First of all, with what Musk has access to right now with this new government department that they made up for him to run is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
He has access to all of our data, all of it. And you don't think that these people that are known for manipulating this aren't going to be using that? And Altman's in it with him. Like he's a long time friend of Thiel. Like they were like running a company together back in the day. Oh God, which was it? Was it Tools for Humanity?
I don't know.
That was like a weird. So this guy's like also a venture capitalist type guy. Right?
I didn't know they were connected. That's interesting.
Yeah. Like he's in the Peter Thiel orbit of Silicon, like that faction of Silicon Valley. I forget if this is the one he was on with Thiel on, but like he had this bizarre company called Tools for Humanity, right? And what they were doing was scanning people's eye. Like people would volunteer to have their eyes scanned to create technology to sort of verify you're a human for fraud protection, right? And they never operated in America. They said they didn't trust, like America didn't have enough privacy for them. So they operated in Kenya and a few other countries, and every other country that they went to investigated them for fraud, like stealing people's data. Like they were paying people in like a cryptocurrency. It was just like every shady Silicon Valley thing you can think of, they were doing. That's this guy. So
but he's here to save us from China stealing our data. He's a hero of the people. That's wild. That's so interesting. I got to look more into this guy's background. I don't know too much about him, but I mean, on a theoretical level, what this shows is the superiority of socialism to capitalism. I mean, honestly, that it's, they're never going to be able to compete with China because the purpose of AI for Sam Altman, besides data theft, is to make money. It's to make profit. China's had engineers and scientists and computer programmers who were trained up in, free socialist education systems or next to free socialist education systems who understand that they work for the society, right? That's their motivating factor, not money, which is the motivating factor of, I would say, even a lot of scientists under capitalism, is they care about their research and aiding humanity, but all of our brain power in America is going towards profit-making ventures, whereas in China, they have much more focus on the use value of what they're putting out, and they can control the price. And if it's something like AI, they can make it open source and just give it away. So there's no way for a capitalist mode of production to compete with this. And as technology advances, now that China has basically level skipped the industrialization that took the US and UK hundreds of years to get through imperialism and slavery and all these other horrific methods. China's done that in 70 years through socialism. They essentially level skipped capitalism and what Marx calls capitalism's great role in history, which is to increase the productive forces, creating the possibility for socialism. And China's like getting to the end stage of that now, and they're getting to the point where they're actually surpassing the US, where we're actually not just seeing how socialism can be used to build up productive forces, but how it's actually a superior mode of production to capitalism, which in the US is every day becoming more and more and more a fetter, not only on physical production, but intellectual production, because like I said, it's all being steered towards profit-making ventures. And I study healthcare administration, same thing in healthcare. All these genius scientists and engineers who could be focusing on things like China's diabetes vaccine are instead doing things for big pharma, like pushing opioids, which is what they did over the last 20 some years and destroyed countless lives. So socialism greater than capitalism, it's becoming inarguable.
Yeah. First, thank you, Charles Darwin. WorldCoin was their crypto. But like, why is DeepSeek so much better? Right. And it's because literally it's a communist country doing it. It's a communist enterprise doing this, right? It's the way ChatGPT and OpenAI handled this ever-present problem of constantly needing more processing power as the AI advanced and learned and whatever, was they threw hardware at it, basically. More and more NVIDIA cards, more and more NVIDIA cards, which guess what? Makes NVIDIA quite a bit of money, right? And so China's like, this is crazy. This is such a waste. Let's go back to the drawing board and see if there's another way to answer this question. And what's wild is you can go back to Marx's original sort of fundamental understanding of capital to understand how they did this. They looked into the division of labor, right? Rather than one giant powerhouse AI that needs all these cards, they literally like shared the labor throughout the entire AI. If you do a parallel to society, right, it gives you the difference between a collectivist mindset in the Chinese DeepSeek and an individualist one in the American ChatGPT and OpenAI and all the rest, right? And guess what? This allows them so much more efficient processing. Like, so think of it like they have a separate, smaller AI for every topic of expertise, right? So one doing math, one doing biological, blah, 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 right? Each section of the process is handled by a separate, smaller AI. And this is how they just broke through all this stuff. And I don't know. I think it's a really smart play on an internationalist footing of China to do this, because what does this do? This gives us operating room here in the US to wage the class struggle. Two, it sort of levels out this playing field and brings China up above it even, right? And so it's good for them as well. I don't know. It's an amazing thing happening. And I think it's funny that after this happens, Sam Altman starts going like, well, we've been on the wrong side of history when it comes to AI. Maybe we should go open source. When, he's not going to do it. It's too little too late. DeepSeek has destroyed it already. Yeah, I don't know if there's any coming back.
No, because it's like you said, it's easier. I mean, it uses less hardware. So what would ChatGPT and OpenAI going open source even do? Sebastian mentions that there may have been an NSA member on the board of DeepSeek AI. I'm sure that's what we call the revolving door. That's how this stuff works. You work for the State Department or the Pentagon or whoever, and then you get a nice cushy job in tech or in the weapons industry or whatever. Yeah. And I'm sure I've been vindicated in a lot of my TikTok arguments that I've been having, and I'm sure a lot of you have been vindicated as well. I know the infrared community has been a long-standing defender of AI, saying there's no way to halt the advance of technology anyways, so we might as well use this as productively as we can. But I've had conversations with a lot of leftists, smart people, not dumb people, but leftists who say you shouldn't use AI, because I use ChatGPT for research in a lot of my TikTok videos, and they'll say, you shouldn't use this because it uses too much energy. It's bad for the environment. And my response is always, no, capitalism is bad for the environment. Capitalism is what uses energy so inefficiently and builds things so inefficiently in a way that is destructive to the environment. And China is proving that with their eco cities, their carbon zero cities, their public transportation, their advancements in nuclear energy, and now this developing an AI software that is much less wasteful and requires much less energy than what American capitalists and shareholders than what they were pushing. And there's a ton of theoretical implications that can be drawn from this. As I talk about it, I almost want to write about it for Red America. I know I'm not an AI expert, so maybe someone else should write an article on this for Red America. But what is the Marxist philosophy of dialectical materialism at its core? It's that as the forces of production develop, so like technology, right, and humans' just ability to produce in general, things like mechanized agriculture that allow us to produce way more food. As these things evolve and advance, which sort of happens naturally and happens, extremely quickly under capitalism, eventually the relations of production become outdated and they burst and they have to turn into something new. And this happens through class struggle and through revolution. So like the classic example is European feudalism, right? There was this class called the bourgeoisie of merchants and factory owners. And as technology advanced, they could produce more and more stuff, which made them richer and richer. And that economic power translated to political power. And eventually they were able to seize power away from the monarchs, from the ruling class at that time. American Civil War was a similar thing. The advance of the forces of production was making the bourgeoisie in the American North much stronger, and their interests were becoming directly antagonistic to those of the plantation owners in the American South, who had an outdated mode of production, had slavery, and didn't see as much evolution of industry and the forces of production. So we're seeing that now in the modern era. Capitalism is capitalist relations of production are becoming a fetter. They're making it so things are built less efficiently. They're making it so we have planned obsolescence. So things are literally built so that they'll break and you'll have to go back and buy another one. Mm-hmm. Aiming everything towards profit is being outmoded by the Chinese system, which prioritizes use value, the actual use that the things being produced give to the society itself, rather than just prioritizing profit above all else. So as the forces of production advance and we get new forms of technology like AI, we're seeing the superiority of socialism, and we're seeing capitalism increasingly become a fetter on production, which will only happen more and more as the forces of production continue to advance. And it's just cool how we can see it in modern day, because so much of Marxist capital is going over industry and going over the factories and how the factories were developing, and we can still make that analysis today, but now we also see it with technology and computer science.
And Eddie, you touched on something really, really important a minute ago, that it seems that our forces of production are advancing past our relations of production. Yes. AI is already sort of ringing the bell for the death knell of middle management completely. Yeah, AI can do what middle managers do more efficiently. And just by the logic of capital, you got to get rid of them middle managers then, meaning millions of people losing their jobs, right? Not to mention sort of other sort of mental labor, right? It's think of graphic designers that would spend a week doing 10 images in Photoshop. Now you can spit out 1,000 from AI in a minute, and the decision makers can make their decision based on that. And this is only going to be a good thing. This is technology advancing, and what it means is that if we can properly harness this, we can not only get rid of so much unnecessary work, we can increase our standard of living while we're doing it, decrease the work week again. I mean, come on, like there's so many sociological studies that we're really only actually productive for about 3 to 4 hours a day anyway. Yet we're working 8 hours like it's 1970, right? Between 1910 and 1970, we went from 16-hour days to 8-hour days, right? And we haven't gone down since. This technology can make that not only possible, but within our reach if we are willing to fight for it. Because they're not going to give up a damn thing without a fight.
Right.
And I don't know about you guys, but I know Eddie and I are fighters. So what are you going to do? Are you with us or what, you know? And that was going to, sorry, Eddie. I know it sounded like I was done. That was going to lead me to the people that seem like they're against AI seem to be from the PMC, right? People that are like, oh, it's, you know, putting artists out of work. And it's like, honestly, I don't care. Get a job.
Well,
like, I find it hard to
under
feel bad.
socialism, it should be a good thing. We should be automating it so people have more time with their family and kids. I mean, it's only tragic that people are getting thrown out of the workforce because there's no safety net to take care of them, and because that's how capitalism handles automation.
Yep.
This whole conversation going back to socialism versus capitalism from a theoretical perspective, it brings me back to, there was this TikTok a while ago. It had the dumbest title. It was like, when Elon Musk realized that Jack Ma is an idiot. And it was the Chinese billionaire Jack Ma having a conversation with Elon Musk. And Jack Ma was saying, I think AI is a good thing because humans control technology. And humans, you know, are the ones who created technology and can shut it off. And we can use that technology to better our own lives. And Elon said, no, AI, we shouldn't pursue AI at all. AI is all bad. Humans can't control technology. Technology controls us. But I think that's also difference in worldview stems from the difference in system. Because under capitalism...
Also, let me interrupt real quick, Eddie. Also, because Elon thinks the Terminator is real.
Elon is the Terminator, bro. He sure thinks he is. But under capitalism, as the forces of production develop, they basically come to control humanity, right? We don't control production. We don't control the market. The market controls us. And this is reflected in the ideology of capitalist ideologues like Milton Friedman, where, you know, it doesn't matter what's best for humanity. The market does what's best, and we need to follow the market. So it's the forces of production controlling humanity, whereas under socialism, it's humanity controlling the markets. Humanity, what China calls the visible hand, grabbing the invisible hand and making it do whatever it wants. It's humanity reasserting control over production and the forces of production. So that's what China has, and that's why they're so far able to use AI much more efficiently and successfully than we have here in the U.S., whereas in the U.S., we're going to see a lot of unemployment stem from this, and in China, they won't. They'll find other jobs for those people. They won't just throw them out onto the streets. It's not that hard, honestly, but it's socialism is just common sense at this point. And as the forces of production develop, it's like, open your eyes. Look at what China's doing. It's so much more rational. Stop being scared. If you're scared of socialism, you're afraid of yourself.
That's one of my favorite quotes from that guy. We got an interesting chat here from Tobias, who says, I also don't want a job in the communist state, to be honest with you.
Tobias will be a SoundCloud producer, SoundCloud rapper. Every anarchist gets a job like that.
I feel like this, like, sort of hyper individuals, like, look, I work like 10 to 12 hours a day. You think I want to work? No. I'm spending most of my life making some other guy rich. And that's messed up. But I think we often forget that these thoughts are characterized by the history that's created them. That the world we've grown up in that gives rise to you saying this, Tobias, is a bourgeois world, a capitalist world where work isn't enjoyable because every minute you've ever spent at work has not been you connected to your humanity, that which makes you human, your ability to do labor, right? It's not, because that the product of that labor is by rights the property of someone else. But in a communist society where that's yours, the product of your labor is yours, and you're working for you, and everyone else is working for them, and each other, really. the way that thought comes about must, by definition, be different, right? This is what Marx talked about when he said, in communism, labor can be life's prime want because you find fulfillment in that, in reconnecting with your lost humanity. Or you could just be lazy. I don't know. I don't know you, right? Anyway, Eddie forgot
one thing, Noah. I think one thing that goes overlooked, or I think sometimes too much emphasis is put on culture when we talk about how hardworking the Chinese are, or how hardworking Asian people are. I think what goes overlooked is, which always goes overlooked in bourgeois society, is the mode of production. The fact that, a lot of brilliant young people today in the U.S. are looking at what's ahead of them, and they're like, ugh, I don't want to be a corporate lawyer. I don't want to work for Silicon Valley making Sam Altman rich, or work as an engineer, work for Tesla. My buddy was an engineer at NASA, and he said that they call SpaceX Slave X because people just work there for a couple of years, work 60 to 80 hours a week like slaves, and then you can put that on your resume and pretty much go work anywhere, work somewhere easier.
Right, and then Elon takes credit for all your work.
Right, and then NASA has become nothing but, a research arm of the private sector. They just feed stuff to Tesla and SpaceX and focus their research on things that will make money for those companies, rather than, doing what NASA used to do and investing in things that are good for the nation, good for the country, which they were kind of forced to do by the USSR. And they didn't do as well as the USSR. Capitalism still sucked even in the 60s and 50s. But, whereas Chinese kids, the Chinese dream is still alive, whereas the American dream is kind of dead. They know if they grow up, they could be and work hard and study hard, they could produce AI that becomes open source and changes the world and changes technology for everyone, and that's going to be given away for free to humanity. Whereas what have we done with our, one of our greatest scientists of all time, Albert Einstein, was forced to work on the Manhattan Project, an imperialist effort to build an atomic bomb and nuke Japan, the US's imperial rival. And that did help the communists to come to power in China and Vietnam, but a little bit. So that's kind of made me rethink maybe Japan did need to get nuked. Just kidding. The nukes were not horrible loss of human life, but Japan was pretty wild at the time. I don't know. That issue has become more gray for me recently. But either way, scientists and stuff, there's less motivation to work hard in the US because of the mode of production. It's not just that we have a lazy culture and kids these days are lazy. It's because kids these days are not lazy. Trust me, I coach wrestling, which is a very unalienating thing existing within a very alienated society. Because you do see the product of your labor. It is, you get out of the sport of wrestling how much you put in terms of work, and living a good lifestyle. And kids become fucking addicted to it. They become obsessed with it because it's the only form of labor in their life that's unalienated. And they deal with a lot of depression and hardship once they leave, because they realize that, work life, doing 40 hours a week, the 9 to 5, is way more alienating than doing something where you actually see the product of your labor. So I think a lot of the laziness in American society that boomers love to rail against stems from capitalist alienation. And a lot of the hard work that people chalk up to just a product of Asian culture is actually part of the more collective modes of production. And that's true of even capitalist Asian societies like, Singapore. They have a lot more state control and are a lot more collective.
And the sort of economic base affects it in more ways than we really think. In China, you're sort of incentivized through the economic plan to do what benefits the entire Chinese people. And in America, even if you're someone who wants to do that, say you're a patriotic guy like me, I'm a patriotic guy. I would love to be able to spend my life just helping the American working class, right? But that is necessarily taken a back seat to my needing to take care of my family, to pay the mortgage, etc. Right? In order to sort of try to find some free time with which to do that, I must go make elites rich. That's the way this system is designed. In China, it's just not the case. Also, I want to say this Tobias guy, I keep finding neat things he said. He says, China works better than America. I agree with you, but Europe also works better. I'm from Europe. Tobias, didn't Biden just blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, a multi-billion-dollar piece of German infrastructure that literally like controlled like most of the energy influx, and Germany did nothing about it? Nothing, and everyone's worried about the energy prices, and no, it doesn't work better, man. No way.
I mean,
Sorry.
I'm sure he's referring to the social safety net and some of the infrastructure, but like all that stuff is being rolled back.
Yeah, it is.
The freaking my British buddy told me this the other day. Like Keir Starmer and the Labour Party now have people in it who want to privatize the NHS. It's like, holy shit. And the only people, and then the populists, the people who are filling the vacuum of working class politics, are the right wing, are the fascists. So now fascism is coming back in Europe as social democracy decays. So it's not a workable thing, while China continues to get better and better consistently, while American capitalist ideologues consistently write books about their inevitable collapse. Europe is actually in the process of what seems to be an inevitable collapse. And I can foresee many ways that will go in the US, you know, when there's some kind of collapse of the state apparatus and of capitalism here. I don't know enough about Europe to know how that will go. It'll be very interesting because Europe is so divided into these little countries. You silly little European guys with your little countries. Why don't you just have one big country, you idiots?
Yeah, you jerks. You big stupid idiots.
But you can't stop capitalism from decaying with anything but socialism. Sorry.
It comes down to the old fight, right? Fascism or communism. Those are the options. And you can already see the ruling class trying to prime us to accept fascism as somehow normal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can already see them trying to dissuade you from communism. So I don't know, like to me, the intro to the manifesto always rings true, right? But now it's not Europe. That specter is haunting America now, right? And all of the sort of reactionary forces are aligning in order to exercise the specter of communism.
Noah, did you read the chat?
No, I sort of try to not pay attention to it sometimes.
Sorry, read the chat real quick.
What I miss?
Well, Eddie look a little too cute today. Shut down the thirsty shit.
Yo, you look cute every day, bro.
Thank you, man. That means
you're welcome.
Thank you. You too. Should we let's try not to get banned here. Let's avoid using words like you got to be careful if you suggest that anything is a false flag on YouTube. And
yes,
obviously we're not saying anything is a false flag with this story. There's not nearly enough information left, but there's some very interesting stuff going on. So like one of Trump and Elon's policies was to get rid of DEI. You know, the DEI hires meme. They're actually pursuing policies to end these hires based on, you know, race or ethnicity or whatever. And in one of Trump's sort of rambles or speeches about that, he said that we have all of our airport towers filled with DEI hires. So our skies, our commercial airlines are being run by people who haven't been hired for their merit, but have been hired for the color of their skin or whatever. And therefore, you know, they don't have very good merit, or they're not as good at their jobs as they could be. So this had a lot of people like, oh, well, should we even be flying commercial then? And Trump was forced to come out and make a statement saying, yes, you should feel safe flying commercial. But then there were two major plane crashes, one of them in Washington, D.C., where some kind of, I don't know if it was a military jet or was it a commercial jet, that collided with a Black Hawk helicopter, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now, which was supposedly there just to defend the president or whoever else.
Yeah, it was on a like a training mission to basically
Okay.
fly elites out of DC, right? And unfortunately,
The
as you see-
helicopter or the plane? What was
that's
the
the
plane?
helicopter.
Okay.
As you see right here, like they said that all the details are basically classified because it's the routes that they take these elites on, right? Like they can't talk about that. That makes sense. So it was like right around Reagan National Airport, which is like maybe the
I've been there.
third busiest airport in the entire country.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's interesting to me. It was traveling along a core route, a training route, but flying nearly twice as high as aviation guidelines permit. Now, to me, that says that like you need to give air traffic control a heads up about that, right? But apparently this Black Hawk didn't have the technology aboard to do that.
Wait, who was in the plane? What kind
in
of
the plane? So it was
It was
like
a
a passenger jet.
Oh my
And
god.
64 people were on it, and they all got killed. Like
That is
it blew up, brother.
That is so crazy. So you can see why Trump people are now saying, this was some kind of a false flag in order to make it look like Trump and Elon are cutting the Department of Transportation and leading to our skies being unsafe is what, a lot of more conspiratorial MAGA people are saying. It's, you can make of that what you will. But either way, the situation is very odd. And it could just be due to general incompetence, very likely, which, we as Marxists, that's something that we also want to change and recognize that, the way everything is run is very inefficient. So it could be due to just general incompetence, but it could be due to some weirdness. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think like you could even look at it from the other side, right? Like, my thing is plane crashes happen quite frequently, more than they really report. Very sort of they don't saturate the media with everyone. Now, this is a giant plane crash, an abnormal plane crash, but I think it coincides with exactly what Trump and Musk's plan is, which is to sort of gut all of these industries, right? Get rid of the DEI hires. And honestly, I don't know if that's true or not.
Right. Yeah, it could be. There's the motivation for a false flag on the other side, too.
Precisely. Like, I see motivation on both. And what I also see is this story in particular going worldwide, whereas other crashes that maybe weren't as bad or maybe just as bad don't really get reported all that much. So it's just like a little suspicious to me. I don't know. I always look at the timing of things, and it's just like it's very coincidental. Like I said, like Eddie was saying, like we're not saying it's a false flag, but
right. It could very well be a coincidence. It's just odd. And the other thing, and you can pull up the other article if you want, is there was another plane crash in Philadelphia right around the same time, which there are very wild videos of. It looks like a fireball blowing up. And it's just, again, like hard to draw any conclusions from this, but very strange that planes are just, that two planes would go down when there's all this controversy about the Department of Transportation cutting government funding. The Democrats are accusing Trump of running the government inefficiently and cutting funding to necessary programs. The Republicans are accusing the Democrats of doing DEI hires and filling all of these important government bodies with incompetent people in order to hire more racial minorities. And then you have two planes go down. So it's just like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on?
Well, and it's like, and this one is more like the crashes that happen more frequently, right? Like 7 dead and 19 injured. That's horrible, but that's a lot less than everyone, 65 people dead, right? Mm-hmm. Especially there's no Black Hawk in this. And I think it's just the timing of these, right, is just very strange to me that they're reporting these so widely when there's all this controversy surrounding what to do about these DEI hires and whatnot.
Sometimes a coincidence is just a coincidence, but even then, you have to look at how the media reacts. Like what Noah's saying, why are these so much more widely reported? Well, because the Democrats and Republicans have the agendas that we just mentioned.
Precisely. And it could be a coincidence, and they're using it like this too, you know?
Exactly. They always love to take a kernel of truth, a grain of truth, and then hyper focus on that, and which distorts the story as a whole. You know, with Saddam, they were backing him when he was fighting the war with Iran. The U.S. was, but then when they were trying to take out Saddam, they're like, he did all these atrocities against Iran, and they hyper focus on that to demonize him out of proportion and distort the story and not tell the part about the U.S. and CIA supporting him at that point. They love. It's easier for them to lie if they don't have to completely fabricate something.
Right. Those atrocities weren't such a big deal when he was meeting with Bush at the White House, right?
Exactly.
So do they really care about the atrocities? I mean, that's not saying he didn't do them, but do they really care about them? No. It's always using these things cynically with the ruling class. Always. And by the way, on the subject of this plane crash, it was pretty bad. Like, I don't want to understate how bad it was. Like, the wreckage went over like 5 or 6 blocks. It probably says here.
Did it hurt anyone on the ground?
Yeah. So it killed a child and a person on the ground inside a vehicle. My bad. But like there were, and I'm not gonna play it because it's graphic.
Wait, play the fireball video quick. That one.
Yeah, this one might. The thing is, this one might have people on fire. I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 videos, and I don't know which is which. What one has like people like running from the blast, like on fire.
I don't think this is that.
Okay, we'll play this
real quick. Hopefully not. We may get demonetized here, folks.
Right. Do you want to listen to it? We can listen to it.
But I want to go back to just, here's what we know right now for those who are just joining us. 6 people were on that medical chopper. We know that 4 of them were crew, 1 pediatric patient, 1 escort. That was a plane or the aircraft that was bound for Springfield, Missouri. It had just taken off from Northeast Philadelphia Airport when it crashed on Roosevelt Boulevard and Cottman Avenue. And now I want to go to some of the viewer video that has just been inundating our newsroom.
Yeah. So yeah, I was looking for this stuff earlier and saw the one of the person. I'll send that one to you. It's really messed up. You guys can look for it if you want. It's easy to find. But what's interesting, this is another helicopter passenger jet collision, right?
That's how it went down?
Yeah. This one was a medical helicopter. Weird, right?
Dude, I just thought it crashed. There's 2 helicopter plane collisions in a week.
Yeah.
Something.
I wonder how like frequent those are in general, right? Like not right now.
Can't be that frequent. I've never heard of it.
Probably not. Well, because helicopters and planes are supposed to fly at completely different heights. Passenger jets are really high up there.
It was a Learjet 55, not a copter.
Oh, no. I'm pretty sure that it crashed into a medical helicopter.
Look it up. We got to figure this shit out.
Okay. Hold on. I mean, we got the thing right here.
Was it helicopters?
Maybe I'm thinking of something else because I'm not seeing it now.
Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, what?
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I must have been. I was looking through a lot of these videos earlier.
Yeah.
My bad, guys.
Transport jet. Okay. It was a plane. The helicopter was in DC. Yeah. We already covered that one. It was one medical airplane.
Medical airplane. That's why I was confused. Okay.
It wasn't a collision, right? Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't think so. Okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense. So yeah, I'd say most likely scenario, probably a really weird coincidence, maybe partially due to the deterioration of our system in general. And now the media is going to weaponize it, of course, which I can't help but think back to the one Hassan Piker like full live stream I've ever watched was the one where he talked about us, and he was saying, I hate how the New York Times lies sometimes because then my audience won't believe the New York Times. And it's like, no, you guys, the New York Times is usually telling the truth. They're just wrong sometimes. They're propaganda arms of Wall Street who, even when they're telling the truth, are telling it in a certain way to push a narrative. And you are lying to your audience, sir. Sorry, Hassan.
I'm trying to find something and I'm not finding it right now. Maybe I don't know, but maybe I'll find it. I don't know. It's interesting that he would say that like that, right? Like, I don't know, like how out of touch do you have to be? Hold on. This is the guy we're talking about, by the way. Let's I'm gonna share my screen again. Sorry.
The purges may have cost 100 air traffic controllers. Some are speculating the lack of staffing is behind the crash. I heard that too. I couldn't find any evidence about cuts to the Department of Transportation, but if he fired a bunch of air traffic controllers, that is fishy.
Yo, well, I'm working 10 or 12 hours days.
Yo, get this off my screen. I don't want to see this ever again in my life. I've already seen it too much. I'm going to leave this stream, I swear to God.
Why does anyone respect that guy?
Why is that a thing?
Oh, my goodness.
The Cat Williams moment.
Oh.
That's what Noah's.
That's the guy telling us to trust the New York Times. They're just wrong sometimes.
That's what Noah's going to be doing once he gets an ACP salary and he doesn't have to go to work. He'll finally come out as Noette and wear his maid costume.
Why is it always about these weird sex fetishes? Like, how does that have anything to do with politics, people?
Dude, New York DSA has put out like 2 or 3 dating ads in the past like week. I'm like, what the who in New York DSA leadership is this thirsty? Where they're like, you guys know what we should do? We should do a date night with the rank and file. Like,
that's right. They called it thoughts and trots.
Yes,
like basically saying like we're anti-communist, but like
thoughts and trots. If I ever suggest that as a fundraiser, we should do like win a date night with Eddie, I need you guys to shoot me and put someone else in my role.
It won't get that far, brother. Don't worry.
Guys, I've got the best idea. Oh God.
Like it's so like it's over and over and over again. Like for them, politics is just whatever weird fetish they have. And
well, they've sexualized it. Yeah, it's become about what you do in the bedroom and who you identify as.
And it's transgress. It's
policy.
Precisely. And it's the whole sort of transgression for its own sake in the realm of sexual norms and blah, 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 and queering everything. I'm writing a paper about this right now that hopefully it will be ready for the next Red America on queer theory and its reactionary nature and its roots in pedophilia.
That's how they always end up attacking countries like Iran too. It's like they don't have the same liberal cultural values. Well, that's all that politics is for me. So I support military intervention. And it's like this ideology leads you to support the deaths of so many people. And there were a lot of people like that who supported the Iraq War. You had a lot of the new atheists who supported the Iraq War because those guys are religious. Like all these strands of thought that don't look at, material reality in people's day-to-day lives, but instead, hyper focus on the individual, sexuality, gender. things like this, they always lead to these super reactionary places, which is
super reactionary.
Mhm.
And what it is, I mean, under everything, like the cause of this is the hyper alienation of financialized capitalism, where we're just so far removed from our humanity that these sort of pathologies take hold really easily, because we're just kind of broken people, especially in the listless middle class, where you don't have an immediate struggle taking up your time and energy. When you're working 12 hours a day, you ain't got time to dress up like a stupid maid and prance around like Hassan Piker does, right? You just don't. Sorry.
But you should. That's what socialism is, Noah.
Oh shit.
When
I
everybody
forgot.
gets state-sponsored maid costumes.
I'm being a LaRoucheite Nazball again.
As
My
usual.
bad. My bad. I'm sorry, guys.
Typical Noah.
I'm canceled.
You're done. Finally, Midwestern Marx can return to what I've always wanted it to be. So now we'll finish this by talking about my gender journey, my process.
You guys thought we were leaving, didn't you? Nope. No, don't worry. We're here. We're here. It's all jokes. We got jokes, right? Look, before we go, no, you know what? Like, I don't even want to do that. Eddie's canceled. I'm canceled. I need to let you guys know that in this whole journey I've had of transitioning and going into the person I am as Noette, right? I just need to tell you guys that